On behalf of the Faculty Senate and our university leadership, it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's David Packard Lecture. We are truly honored to host this timely and important conversation about the future of healthcare, featuring an international and generational leader, Mr. Larry Ellison. There are very few individuals in the world who literally need no introduction, and Larry Ellison is one of them. A concise biography of his amazing contributions to the nation and the world are in your printed program. Mr. Ellison is joined in this unique Packard Lecture fireside chat format by the Honorable Seema Verma, former administrator of CMMS and Senior Vice President and General Manager for Life Sciences at Oracle Health. Now please join me in welcoming Seema and Mr. Larry Ellison, co-founder, executive chairman, and chief technology officer of Oracle Corporation, for our 2025 Packard Lecture.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Great. Well, it's wonderful to be with all of you today. And Larry, we're glad that you're safe and sound. You can't see that, but there's an actual fire here for a fireside chat. So this is legitimate. But before we start, I just want to say thank you to all of you. Medicine is a calling for sure, but I can't think of a higher calling to take care of those people that make sacrifices for all of us. So thank you for what you do. Larry, everyone's really excited to hear from you. And I thought we'd start out maybe talking a little bit about your journey into healthcare.
Seema, if I could interrupt for 1 second to say that it's great to see you have a fire there. We almost had a fire in our starboard engine, and that's not that's not the way to start a fireside chat. So, yeah, the starboard side is the right side of the airplane. But yeah, no, I'm very happy I could join you digitally. I hope to be there, but the plane just came out of maintenance, and as you know, after you do a thorough preventative maintenance, the plane's not likely to fly again for the very first time. But that's what happened. But so pleased to join you here today.
Thank you. So, Larry, give us a little bit of background into your journey into healthcare and also Oracle's journey into healthcare. I know you've had a long-standing interest in health, and even early during your educational time, you studied life sciences. And so maybe start there and then bring us into how you brought Oracle into healthcare.
Well, my parents and my teachers had all planned for me to go to medical school. So for a long time, I had been preparing to go to medical school and was on the brink of doing just that when I let my parents know. In fact, I wasn't going to do that. I was going to take this car trip out to Silicon Valley and try my hand at engineering rather than medicine. And it's interesting. It was after the subject of a commencement speech I gave, and where my parents were so upset, my family was so upset, my teachers were so upset that they didn't talk to me for a few years. But eventually, they forgave me. But lo and behold, I wish they were still here today to see come full circle, as we're now using technology, the technology that I worked on for most of my life, to make the quality of healthcare, dramatically improve the quality of healthcare, and get much better outcomes while saving a good deal of money. And I think that's the ideal situation. You know, healthcare in most of the developed world, the Western world, is really become considered a human right. Everyone should have access. In a rich nation like the United States, everyone should have access to high quality healthcare. And we can do that. We can do that economically by using technology. We can improve quality and outcomes by using technology while lowering costs. By the way, there's no better way to lower costs in medical care than having a good outcome. Keeping you out of hospital dramatically lowers costs. Keeping you from having to be readmitted to hospital dramatically lowers costs, and improves the quality of your life. So they really go together.
So how would you say, I mean, if you think about, that's the goal and that's the vision of what technology can do for healthcare. But can you give us a little bit more insight into Oracle and Oracle's past and how Oracle is best positioned to realize the vision that you just outlined?
Well, Oracle, I guess Oracle became famous by developing the world's most popular database, what is now called the Oracle Autonomous Database. And this database has evolved from the time we started the company a very, very long time ago to the present day, where it is now a vector database. Why is that interesting? I'll explain that briefly. Our AI systems understand data after the data has been mathematically converted to vectors. That's the way they search for similarities. They do a lot of AI requires not all AI, but a lot of AI requires data. Your data to be converted to vectors and put into vector spaces, and the Oracle database now facilitates that. There are two major things we have to do to implement AI in our in healthcare or any place. One is we have to have a high quality AI model, and by now everyone's familiar with them. OpenAI makes a very famous one called ChatGPT, and ChatGPT 4.1 just came out. Elon Musk and xAI make a very famous one called Grok. There are some open source models that are actually quite good. Llama 3.2 is from Facebook, is really quite good. There's Genesis from Google. These are the, if you will, the top frontier models in the world. So you need to train these frontier models, create these AI models, and they're typically trained on all of the data, all of the publicly available data on the internet. And that's very important. And if you've ever tried Grok or ever tried ChatGPT and just ask it random questions, as you know, it does a spectacularly good job of reasoning, retrieving facts, and answering your questions. However, if you want to use AI for healthcare, there's a lot of important healthcare data that is not available on the public internet. There's a bunch of healthcare data that is available on the public internet, but a bunch not. Like the data about you in particular, your particular electronic health records are not on the public internet. And if you'd like to ask the AI system questions about you, you will have to find some way to make that data, your private data, available to the AI model. And that's what Oracle does. I mean, Oracle would then put your private healthcare data and keep it private into a database and keep it private. However, there are times when you want people to look at your private data. You want your physicians, anyone who's providing care for you, to look at your private data and understand it. So you typically, in one of those forms you fill out as you wait in the doctor's office, basically giving doctors the right to look at your electronic health records. What we also need to do, what we're also doing, is you not only want the doctor to look at your private health records, you want the AI system to look at and analyze and opine on your private health records while keeping that data private. And that's what Oracle's very, very good at. Oracle's very good at holding data, keeping it secure, and making it available to these AI models, so I can look at it, everything from an individual patient and do a better job of diagnosing that patient and generating a healthcare plan, a care plan, or looking at an entire population, like all of the DoD or all of the VA, look at the entire population by anonymizing all of that data, and then looking at trends inside the population and learning what statins are working better than other statins, what protocols are working better than other protocols, discovering best practices. So these Oracle healthcare databases go from entire populations, looking at anonymized population data, where we try to understand if you have these particular characteristics, genomic characteristics, other characteristics. This is the best statin for you, the best drug, the lower cholesterol for you. If you are in a different group, another statin might be optimal. I mean, AI allows us to do that. These large healthcare data systems allow us to do that. This is one of the things that Oracle is doing. In addition to that, Oracle will prepare before you see a doctor. Oracle will go in and take a look at, while keeping your data private, will take a look at your latest laboratory results, your latest vital signs, your most recent entries into your electronic health records, and prepare a note for the doctor explaining to the doctor why you're going to see the doctor and what the doctor needs to know. Do you have a specific symptom? Is it a routine checkup? And here are the labs and the vitals, and here's your health history. Or is there a specific issue the doctor should be looking at? So before you ever meet with the doc, we prepare that note. AI prepares that note to prepare the doctor to see you and make sure they're asking the right questions. When the doctor does see you, what we do is we listen to the conversation. We, meaning the system, the computer system, listens to the conversation between you and your doctor. And if the doctor should make certain observations, or let's say takes one of your medications and increases it from 2-milligram pill to a 5-milligram pill, we record all of the doctor's orders just by listening to the conversation between you and your doctor. And we issue the prescriptions, or we create a draft, a draft note saying these are the doctor's orders. The doctor's order that you get an EKG. Wants to look at another test. Wants you to get an EKG. Is increasing a particular dosage on a pill from 2.5 to 5 milligrams. And your electronic health records are not updated by the doctor sitting at a keyboard, but rather the electronic health records are updated subject to the doctor's approval automatically. So there's no burden on the doctor now to go ahead and sit there after meeting with you and spend 10, 20 minutes changing the health records. We do that automatically so the doctor can spend more time analyzing the information and more time with patients and less time sitting in front of a computer updating electronic health records. The other thing is we provide the doctor, before they prescribe a particular protocol, let's say to treat your diabetes or to treat your high blood pressure, we would let them know what the latest tests are on the GLP-1, on whether a GLP-1 is appropriate for you. Based on the latest literature, the AI will find the appropriate literature and update the doctor in your particular case. And while the AI will not give the doctor advice, the AI will provide the doctor with information, the latest information from the literature, the latest information available. So the doctor has all of that information before the doctor prepares a care management protocol for you in particular, and how to deal with your diabetes that he's treating. So the doctor is not burdened by filling out electronic health records. The doctor has access to the latest and best information and best practice protocol on treating information. Doctor has the comprehensive population data, knowing what statin is best for you or what GLP-1 is best for you. All of this is possible in the age of AI, where we can provide much better information to doctors, help the doctor so when they do prescribe for you, when they do come up with a treatment protocol, it's a best practice protocol. It's like you have gone to see the 5 top experts in diabetes, and they have combined to diagnose and come up with a treatment plan.
That's excellent. I think you've given us a really good overview of how AI is going to impact healthcare in particular and those doctor-patient interactions. Can you give us a sense of how you think AI is going to impact research and the new generation of new therapies and treatments and innovation generally?
Yeah, well, Well, this is when it sounds a little bit like science fiction, but it's not science fiction. Let's start with diagnosis. Everyone knows the earlier you find a cancer, the better off you are. And there have been attempts in the past, but because of AI now, we're now able, through a simple blood test, to find something called ctDNA floating around in the blood. That's circulating tumor DNA. So what do? You take a blood test, and then you gene sequence the DNA fragments that are floating around in the blood. And with AI, you can do a good job to say, well, is that circulating DNA indicative of a cancer, or is that just a normal, yes, it is circulating DNA, but it's not cancerous, and I don't have to worry about it. Or I don't have to worry about it. The immune system's going to clear it up. Don't worry about it. I've got some illness, but my immune system's going to handle that. We now can do a pretty good job of doing the gene sequencing and actually diagnosing stage 1, stage 2 cancers. Again, this is the cutting edge. This is the cutting edge of gene sequencing and cancer diagnosis and AI all working together. And again, if we can, and we will do much earlier diagnosis of cancer, we then have a much better chance of treating the cancer and curing the cancer than if we wait that the cancer starts manifesting itself with symptoms. You come in with certain complaints. By then, you have a stage 3 or a stage 4 cancer, which is much more difficult to treat. So early diagnosis in almost everything is a good thing. So you use the gene sequencing and of circulating tumor DNA to do early cancer diagnosis, but that is maybe not the most exciting part of this. The next thing you can do, again using AI, is you do the analytics of the tumor. I mean, you take a look at the tumor, and you look for targets. You look for specific surface protein or protein targets on the cancer, and you can design an immunotherapy to attack your specific personalized cancer. So imagine that. I mean, we don't do that right now. You would actually create for every cancer, the early discovery, you would create the right molecules. You would create the right molecules to attack that specific cancer. And we believe we can create those immunotherapies. Again, this is aspirational, but we think we can do that. Genetically discover it's a cancer, and then within 48 or 72 hours have created the appropriate immunotherapy molecules robotically to go ahead and treat your specific cancer. One last thing. Everyone knows one of the problems with cancer is cancer has a high mutation rate, and the cancers change. So the targets for your cancer, that you might treat the cancer, you get a remission, but then the cancer returns. But the cancer returns in a different form than it was when you first started treating it. Well, in the case of a recurrence, it's the same process. If it does recur, you can also look at those characteristics of that tumor and target an immunotherapy to go after the mutated version of the cancer. And there's really no cancer in theory that we can't pursue with this immunotherapy. So it holds the promise of a general method to deal with cancer. Discover it early and customize the immunotherapy and personalize the immunotherapy to your particular cancer. This is all going to happen. This is all happening as we speak.
I don't know, Larry, it sounds like maybe you did go to medical school from the way you're talking about the cancer treatment. But so it's part of that, right, as we're developing new therapies and treatments. Talk to us a little bit about how AI is going to impact clinical trials and your vision for clinical trials in the electronic health record.
Well, clinical trials are very interesting. In a way, well, let's go back to when we had to do clinical trials on an accelerated basis during COVID-19. And Oracle was very involved in all of those clinical trials. And there are several steps in the clinical trial. Well, first, you have to have a cohort of people you're going to test. Clinical trial, a goal of a clinical trial is to prove two things, right? Safety, that the drug is safe, and B, that the drug works, efficacy on the clinical trial. And in the case of COVID-19, there was one of the initial cohorts was 5,000 people. And you treat 5,000 people. It was then, there were several different vaccines that were tested. Some were mRNA, some were traditional vaccines. But let's just take a look at the, let's say, for example, an mRNA drug. You're doing a clinical trial on that. The way clinical trials work is after you test these 5,000 people, the results are then submitted to the FDA. And there were several restrictions on the cohort you were allowed to test. We couldn't, I don't think we could test children. I can't remember if it was under 16 or under 18. Children were not allowed in the clinical trial. Pregnant women were not allowed in the clinical trial. That was considered too risky to test either children or pregnant women. So you got a cohort that did not include children, did not include pregnant women. You tested it on the 5,000, and then the drug made it through the clinical trial successfully. It was deemed to be both safe and effective, worked, efficacious. And then what happened? We started giving these drugs to not hundreds or thousands of people, not even millions of people, but billions of people. And we only collected data, theoretically, in a standard clinical trial, you only collect the data for the people in the clinical trial. Once you actually approve the drug and give it to millions or billions of people, you stop collecting a lot of the data. Now, you do collect one thing called adverse events. I mean, if there's a particular bad event, that has to be reported. But it's very different than a clinical trial when you collect all the data from all the patients all of the time. You don't do that once the drug is released. I consider this one of the strangest ideas I've ever heard in my life. Imagine, okay, so we're collecting data on 5,000 people, and that's enough. And there's no way we would learn if it was 1 million people. We wouldn't learn more if there's 1 million people. We wouldn't learn more than, of course we'll learn more if there's 1 million people. Of course we'll learn more if there's 1 billion people. Clinical trials should never end. But said another way, I mean, a drug gets approved, it's no longer a clinical trial. Data collection should never stop. You should always be gathering all of this data and learning about all of this. And actually, Oracle built a system during COVID called vSafe, which was a voluntary system. So if you wanted to volunteer and continue reporting, because as everyone remembers, there were booster shots. I mean, the COVID mutated. You got new versions of COVID that required a different version of the mRNA vaccine or traditional vaccine. But when you got the booster, being reminded to the booster, all of this stuff that was beyond the clinical trial. That was past the clinical trial. But we had this system where we kept gathering data as it was given to from thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions to eventually billions of people. We kept gathering the data, and we made a bunch of very interesting discoveries by gathering the data. I said earlier that pregnant women were not allowed to participate in the clinical trial. And pregnant women, therefore, pregnant women were not allowed to get the COVID-19 vaccine. What someone must have missed is pregnant women don't always know that they're pregnant. And actually, lots of pregnant women got the COVID-19 vaccine. They just didn't know they were pregnant when they got the vaccine. And because we kept collecting data, we were aware that we actually hundreds of thousands of pregnant women got the COVID vaccine by accident, even though it was not approved for them. And there became a very interesting debate as suddenly we're giving the vaccine accidentally to hundreds of thousands of pregnant women. And we wanted to know, well, are there any adverse reactions? I mean, what is happening as a result of that? And it turns out that the vaccine did reduce the likelihood that the woman would get, because there were so many young women in the front lines of healthcare, did reduce the likelihood that the woman would get COVID. And the FDA was aware of that. And a bunch of people said, well, look, if this is considered safe, if the COVID vaccine is considered safe, and I know this is a very controversial topic, but we have a lot of debate about this, but if it's considered safe and it works, should we allow, I'm not talking about forcing people to get the vaccine. That's a whole separate debate, which I really don't want to get into. That's way above my pay grade. But should we allow people, if they want to, provide the information that a bunch of women, pregnant women, have taken this vaccine and we have no ill effects than we report? Should we at least give them the option to take the vaccine? And the FDA at the time said no, they shouldn't have the option. They weren't in the clinical trial. But okay, they weren't in the clinical trial, but there were, but now we've given it to hundreds of thousands of pregnant women, and we know it does keep them from getting COVID. Should they have the option of using the vaccine like everyone else has the option of using the vaccine and has the option of getting the booster? Should we include them? And that's this notion of real world data. When we have real world information, should we share that information with patients and doctors, and give the discretion to the patients and doctors, provide that data to patients and doctors? We believe you should provide that information. You should inform the doctors and inform the patients, and they can decide it. And eventually, we were able to prevail and convince the FDA that the patient should have the option. Women should not be told they cannot get the vaccine. They should be given the option to take the vaccine if they want to, and get all of that information. I can give you other interesting examples, but as we gather more and more data, we do not know today what is the most effective statin or drug that lowers cholesterol levels. What for individuals, we can do a bunch of analysis, gene sequence look at a whole bunch of proteomics, a whole bunch of other phenotype information, and figure out what is the best. There are a lot of different statins for you. There are a lot of different GLP-1s. We don't have the population data. We don't collect the data to figure out which is the one that will work best for you. We don't really do personalized medicine. We don't have the information to do it. That's going to change. That is changing. And doctors will make much better choices. You'll get much better decisions. You'll be on the right drugs, the right version of the drugs, which again will give you dramatically better outcomes because we manage the data better. And this massive data will allow us to deliver healthcare at a much, much higher quality.
So you've done a great job of kind of outlining how AI is going to impact healthcare and research and clinical trials. But I think one of the practical considerations for a lot of the folks in the room here is, how do we adopt AI in the short term, right? So we're here, there's this product and it can help you with your revenue cycle. There's this product that can help you with clinical intelligence. But from a purchasing or the platform, how should everybody be thinking about AI, right? And how is the Oracle EHR going to be set up to be able to bring in AI? Because AI is going to be, it's constantly evolving, right? And there's going to be new tools and new agents. And so how should they be thinking about this in terms of how we're building it, but also how should they approach it when they're hearing about all of these different types of agents?
Well, again, there's two parts of AI. I'm going to go back to what I said a little bit earlier. No, you're going to have no trouble getting a copy of ChatGPT. You have no trouble getting a copy of Grok and Llama and all the models. All the models are available. All the issues are with data. What do you have? Do you have the right data? I mean, if you want to ask, who's likely to win this basketball game, Oklahoma City or Memphis, Grok will do a great job of telling you who's going to be the likely winner and and what's going to happen. But if you want to know, should you go on a GLP-1, and what are the likely benefits for you going on a GLP-1? The data about you is not available to Grok, so Grok can't do a very good job of that. So the problem, what Oracle is doing is we are, most of the systems, the electronic health record systems, take Epic for example. I mean, they keep all the data for a hospital in a database. They keep all the data for maybe a couple of hospitals in a database. We have all of the data for the DoD in one database, and it will be in the same database that the VA is in. It's one database. All the data is unified, so it's available to AI. We can look at that data, and it's available to. And by the way, it'll be available on your patient portal. All the data about you, wherever you, all of your data in the United States. It's unbelievable. So if you go to a hospital like Stanford, which uses Epic, your data is at Stanford Hospital. If you go to a hospital, you're a Marine and you're deployed, and you go to a hospital, and that hospital is using Cerner or Oracle Health. That data is in Cerner or Oracle Health. You go to another hospital, have LASIK done on your own. You pay for it out of your own pocket. That data about LASIK is in the doctor's office who did the LASIK. Your data is all over the place. It's not good. What we do is we keep, for a country, what we would like to do, and what we're on the way of doing, is we would like to keep all the patients in a nation state in a sovereign secure database. And all of your data should be accessible through your smartphone, regardless of what hospital you went to when. And the current systems, which are designed to automate a hospital, don't work because your data is fragmented. You can't find all of your health data. Perhaps an example I give a lot is if you're in the UK and you walk into Harrods and you have a credit card, and you show them, you've never been to Harrods before, and you show them a credit card, and they're going to let you leave with, they'll take them about 1 second, and then they'll decide to let you leave with a $5,000 watch. They've never seen you before. You've never seen them before. You've never been in London before. You show them a little square piece of plastic. They give you a $5,000 watch and you leave. Because your credit card has all of your financial records. The credit card database is the most amazing database in the world. It knows what your car payment is. It knows if you've ever made a late car payment. It knows how much you earn. It knows how much is in your savings account. How much is in your kids' account. Know how many kids you have. Then how much your mortgage is. Knows everything about you financially. All of your data. And in exchange for that, they can grant you credit very, very fast. Has all of that data. And people have given up all of their financial data in exchange for a credit card. The way it works. It's amazing. Think about it. You can go to Iceland, and Iceland has access to all your A camping store in Iceland will have all the access to all of your credit data. Or more precisely, they will know, can you buy this kayak, this $500 kayak? Should I give them the $500 kayak or not? They'll have all of that information. But let's say in the UK, where you just walked out with your $5,000 watch, and as you know, they drive on the wrong side of the street in the UK. Suddenly, a double-decker bus doesn't run you over. It kind of brushes it into you and knocks you down because you stepped off the curb, and they rush you to a hospital. And they want to know what, and you need blood, and you need anesthesia. It wants to know what drugs you're allergic to. It wants to know what your blood type is. They have no clue how to get that information. But you know what they can find all instantaneously? You can pay the bill. They can know, I don't know who the hell he is. I don't know what his blood type is. I don't know a damn thing about him, but he's good for the money. So we want to treat him. But we're going to have to run a blood test, and we're going to have to do, we got a huge problem. So isn't it interesting? The Western world has built this incredible system for shopping. All of your credit data. All the banks have taken and shared all of your credit data into these credit systems like Experian. And they make it available in sub-second response time. In the case of a crisis. To me, the crisis is buying that's a really cool watch. I want that watch. Or I need those Nikes. That's a real crisis. I need it now. Even though I don't get paid till Friday, I need to get those Nikes now. And they can do it instantaneously without human intervention. Unbelievable. However, you go to a hospital, excuse me, sir, sit down. Here are about 500 forms. Please fill them out. And why do I fill out the same forms over and over again? Wherever I go, it's unbelievable. We have such primitive systems in healthcare. And the credit system isn't even a national system. It's a global system. Works all over the planet Earth. We don't have healthcare system that works from one side of San Francisco or Palo Alto to the other, where I can find the data. That's how bad it is.
Well, you kind of brought up these different countries, right? And so how does this impact AI, having all this data? And if we can achieve the vision that you're outlining, what does that look like for public health? And how would the COVID response be different in a better world of data interoperability and AI?
Well, the COVID response. I mean, if you really, all right, let's go back with the beginning of the COVID response, which is we didn't know there was COVID until it was too late. So the most important thing in pandemics is you discover them early. You have a novel virus or a novel pathogen of any kind that's dangerous, and you need to discover. Just the same thing like diagnosing cancer early. You can start, the sooner you figure out you got a novel and dangerous pathogen, the sooner you can take action. We were way late in finding out. Well, the problem is, even in the West, because it really, the illness, as far as the United States was concerned, COVID went from Wuhan to Milan, Italy, to New York. Because it turns out, not only does Wuhan have a biolab, level 4 biolab, it also is one of the centers of fabric design and manufacture in China, and a lot of fashion, and the fashion center of Europe is Milan, Italy. So there are a lot of people that fly from Wuhan to Milan. So as COVID-19 left China, it went from Wuhan to Milan, and as it left Milan, it went to New York, which is the fashion capital of the United States. That was the cycle. So it did get to Milan fairly early. Well, why didn't we figure this out before? Because the pathology departments of our hospitals discover pathogens using PCR, not gene sequencing. So we really, when you do pathology, when someone's sick and you ask the question, well, what have they got? We test known, and that's why PCR works. We test for known pathogens. And we say, well, it's not this, it's not that. And COVID-19 was closest to SARS. The closest precursor, if you will, to COVID-19 looked a lot like SARS, but it wasn't SARS. So we didn't do a very good job of noticing this novel pathogen because pathology departments in hospitals don't do gene sequencing. They do PCR instead. And PCR works basically by looking for known pathogens and amplifying the DNA, certain preserved sections of known pathogens, but it doesn't discover novel pathogens. So our pathology department, the new pathology system inside of Oracle does a combination of PCR and gene sequencing. When we see something that's suspicious out of PCR, we then do gene sequencing, where we see, okay, have we got a problem here, and that needs to become standard practice inside of all pathology departments in all hospitals. It needs to have a combination of PCR. Of course, it's more than just PCR. As you do pathogen analysis, you certainly need to do gene sequencing to discover novel pathogens. By the way, you need to do gene sequencing to understand that the influenza A that you've just discovered is not a common influenza A. It's a drug-resistant influenza A. And if you try to treat this influenza A in the wrong way, you're not going to get a good outcome. So we have to improve our diagnostics, which will do a couple of things. In general, on a daily basis, it will mean we discovered that we got a disease, an antibiotic resistant microbe here. So we've got to use a different antibiotic. We'll discover that gene sequencing will give us that information. We found a novel virus, which is very risky. Let's sequence it and see. So you get an early warning to a potential future pandemic. That should all come out of our standard pathology departments, which need to be upgraded and brought into the modern digital age.
So if we think about all of the innovation that you're talking about, Larry, how quickly are we going to see this, right? So when we think about the transformation of AI, is that 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? What can the audience expect in terms of the adoption of AI?
Well, the adoption of AI, well, inside of healthcare, outside of healthcare. I mean, AI, the adoption rate of AI is going to be very, very rapid, both inside and outside of healthcare. This year, Tesla will start, and if you haven't seen it, there are 2 videos I'd ask you to watch. If you want to get a feel, and I really mean feel rather than understanding. I don't mean an understanding of AI. I mean a feel for AI. Feeling. I want to evoke a feeling. There are 2 videos. One is the Optimus robot that's being built in Palo Alto, California. People say, is Tesla a battery company, an energy company, an electric car company? What is it? I'll tell you what Tesla is. Now, I think I'm the second largest shareholder in Tesla. Yeah, I know, the stock's gone down a bit. I am not worried. Tesla is going to be the most valuable company on earth by a lot. Because what Tesla is a robotics company. And the early robots, these 4-wheel robots, while they're interesting and will make Tesla by far the most successful car company in the world, that's not the important product. The four-wheel robots are not the most important product. The most important product are the robots with 2 arms and 2 legs. And these are called Optimus robots, and they're being built in Palo Alto. And this year, they'll be going into the Tesla factories. So the 2-arm, 2-leg robots will be helping to make the 4-wheel robots in the Tesla car factories. But they can do other jobs. Next year, they'll start to sell. And what can they do? Well, they can do some really mundane things. They can work at McDonald's and do everything you do at McDonald's. They can work in all the fast food restaurants, take all those jobs, no problem. And by the way, why will Tesla be so successful? Tesla's ride sharing won't have drivers. So they're going to be much cheaper and much safer. It gets even worse. If you buy a Model 3 Tesla or a Model Y Tesla, you go to sleep, you can send your car out to work. And the car, the car will come back and pay you. In fact, the car will actually pay you back for the car entirely. So Teslas will become less than free. Of course, what would make sense that the price of the Tesla would go up, because people will figure out that pretty quickly with full self-driving. But robotics, these 2-arm, 2-leg robots are going to go into a lot of factories and a lot of restaurants. They can, you haven't seen it, they can make you dinner, play piano or guitar during dinner, and then clean up afterwards. And during the day, they can grow your vegetables in your garden and maintain the garden, grow your food, cook your food, clean up, do all of these things. We will have the 2-arm, 2-leg robots will be by far the most successful product in the history of humankind, crushing the iPhone, which was the last most successful product in the history of humankind. Because it does a lot more than the iPhone. Robotics. Okay, that's one film I want you to watch. So just look at it for 2 minutes. Look at these robots. Watch them crack eggs or peel tomatoes or whatever. I mean, they incredibly fine dexterity. They'll be able to do certain kinds of surgeries and all of that, and then they'll get better and better and better and better at this. They will build your house. They will go out and buy the materials, buy the lumber. You'll give them the plans. The robots can completely build your house. And this is happening over the next 5 years. And there are going to be a lot of these robots. That's one thing. Next thing I want you to look at. Look at a video called The Autonomous Flying Taxi in China. These are 18-motor drones in China, no pilots. They fly pretty much below 1,000 meters. The air traffic controlled is entirely autonomous. Again, no pilots. Fly for up to 4 people. And they seemingly get very close to one another. But actually, doing autonomous flying robots is much easier than doing autonomous cars. Self-driving cars, because self-driving cars get very close to each other. If you're on a freeway, you get very close to other cars. When you're flying, you don't get that close to other airborne objects. So it's much easier to fly autonomously, much safer to fly autonomously in a way than driving. But they both work. And take a look. China's just authorized them in a couple of cities, these autonomous flying drones.
So Larry,
One last thing. And if you're really intrigued, Tesla is now, I think, offering. I'm really not trying to sell Teslas, but they're offering a 2-day test drive. If you've never pushed the full self-driving button on a Tesla and had to drive you someplace in traffic, the experience will change your life. It'll change your life. You won't believe what's happening while you sit there. And you'll get a feeling, and I emphasize this is a feeling rather than an intellectual understanding. You get a feeling for what's happening. And what's happening, for example, When you get an MRI, that MRI is going to be read by AI. The sonogram, the Philips sonogram. You know, my wife's pregnant. We go in. I'm sure a lot of you have gone in for a sonogram, and either with your wife has gone in, or you've gone in and looked at these images on maybe a Philips sonogram machine, and you'll see someone do something very strange. So that the operator will put a little ruler up on the sonogram machine, measuring the skull development, measuring the length of the spine, looking for an umbilical cord wrapped around the fetus's neck. All the ridiculous. All that's going to be done by computers. Computers do that way better than doctors can. Now, doctors and the computer. Now, it's not that computers will replace the doctors, but the computers will provide a really fabulous assist to the doctors, make the doctor's job much easier, much more accurate. So all of this is happening as we speak. So this is going to be common 5 years from now. It won't be common everywhere, but there will be places that run this way. There will be hospitals, hospital systems, countries that have adopted these technologies, and it will change everything.
That's great. I think people are already trying to get to the Tesla video. They're making good on your stock tip there. But so in real time, we're taking your advice.
Okay, I'm sure I'm going to get a thank you note from Elon.
So last couple of minutes here to the audience. We have a lot of medical students here. What advice do you have for them, and how should we think about AI and humans and that interaction, especially in medical school? And what would you say to the audience here of students, right, that are preparing to go to, you know, with how should they be thinking about technology as they're going through the typical curriculum today?
Yeah, well, I think it's just the next really great tool to help you do your job and do your job better. So again, AI is not going to replace doctors, but it is. I'll tell you, I think Seema can confirm. We get notes back from doctors who are so thrilled that they don't have to enter their own electronic health record data themselves by typing into a computer. The interface, the interface to the computer with the Oracle system is you talk to it, or you don't even talk to it. You talk to your patient, and the computer listens and takes notes, and it does it very well. The computer will, based on the symptoms your patient is presenting, there could be some new information that was just recently published, like that morning, that's relevant to what you and your patient were just discussing. We'll make sure you have immediate access to all of that information. So it's a tool, I think, that's going to make you take away a lot of the tedium of record keeping, but also make sure you're always have the latest, most up-to-date information, and that no one ever again takes a ruler and puts it on a flat surface to measure a spine, which is a three-dimensional object, and that doesn't work. I mean, it's just the computers will again make you more precise in your job, give you more information. So when you ultimately make a judgment as to how you want to treat this patient, you have the best diagnostic data, and you have the latest and best information about what works, what medications work best, and what protocols seem to deliver the best outcomes. You'll be armed with all of that data, and hopefully it will make you a much better doctor than you would be without those tools.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. And if we can thank Larry for his time today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be there digitally. If I couldn't, my plane was trying to keep me in Florida.
Well, don't leave us yet. I think we're going to go full circle from the beginning about your medical education. So just stay with us here for a second.
Right. Please stay digitally engaged, if you will, Mr. Ellison. I'm John Woodson. I'm the president of Uniformed Services University, and I want to just rise to thank you and the Honorable Seema Verma for this incredible, inspiring, visionary discussion this afternoon. USU is on a journey of digital transformation in support of our educational mission and in support of the military health system. And you've given us a lot to think about, but more importantly, you've energized us in terms of this journey. So I want to thank you both for an inspiring talk. Let's give them another round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
As we conclude the 2025 Packard lecture, I want to honor this incredible discussion, but more importantly, Mr. Ellison, your life and career of contributions to the world of technology, the United States, and particularly the Department of Defense, because one of the things we didn't talk about is what you've done in terms of your work for defense agencies, and I'll use that as plural because I know you've done work for multiple agencies to improve our posture by allowing us to use data more effectively to defend this nation. And specifically what you've done with your institute and a collaborative effort in working on cancer-related issues with Uniformed Services University. So in that regard, we have a special honor, Colonel, would you read the citation?
Yes, sir. Mr. Ellison, in appreciation for your extraordinary contributions to the advancement of healthcare and technology, with special contributions to the Department of Defense, and in recognition of your visionary leadership in applying big data and artificial intelligence to the service of human health, USU is proud to bestow upon you an honorary doctorate of military medical systems.
Thank you. Thank you. I thank you, and my mother thanks you.
While this document says honorary, we can see from the discussion that it really should be an actual doctorate because you've demonstrated clearly your expertise and your superiority in this field. So thank you so much for what you've done and what you'll continue to do for the Department of Defense, healthcare, the United States and the world by your technology development. And we do look forward to the next generation of Cerner Oracle in enhancing our ability to deliver healthcare. So thank you again.
My honor. Thank you all.
We'll put out a memo to the Oracle team to call. Now we'll call you Dr. Ellison now officially.
For sure.
They won't do that.
So thank you very much again.
Thank you all.